yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour your joy in me, pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour your joy in me, pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour your love in me, pour your love into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour your love in me, pour your love into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, sing your song in me, sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, sing your song in me, sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, shine your light in me, shine your light into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, shine your light in me, shine your light into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, dance your smile in me, dance and smile into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, dance and smile in me, dance and smile into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Thank you. Doesn't it feel good? Just so good. sacred love, Sacred love is all that you are. Morning. You are sacred love, God. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, God. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, God. Blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. Deepest joy. You are deepest joy. Deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God. Deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God. Deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God. Deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love
breath. The breath. The breath is life itself. The ebb and flow of life is the inhaling, exhaling of the breath. The ebb and flow of the ocean waves is the inhaling and exhaling of the breath. The ebb and flow of life is the inhaling and the exhaling of the breath. Breathe with me right now. Breathing in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Into the nose, slowly out through the mouth.
So we invite you to come back into the room, be with us. If you feel comfortable, will you stand with me and let's open our music with love and spirit, and stand in spirit at home. Come on now. There is a space in my heart where I can find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring all good about. No matter who, what you call yourself, or where you come from, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Yes. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. See with new eyes, allow an unfold embrace and let go. Trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we can ever be apart. No matter who, what you call yourself, or where you come from, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Come on. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Yes, indeed. Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dale Williams. My pronoun is he, him, and his. And I proudly serve as a licensed practitioner at the Living Center of Atlanta. We are a center that educates and engages the seeker on their spiritual path. As a member of a global movement, Centers for Spiritual Living, our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. Thank you. Whether it is your first time you're watching from home or you a member, SLCA is where you belong. We are grateful for your presence this morning. For information about today's service and ways to conduct during the week, please take a moment to scan your QR code found either on the back of your seat in front of you for your or the display on the monitor. Now it's time we recognize our SLCA youth both attending in person today and watching online. As Nelson Mandela said, the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. Please join me affirming the youth affirmation that appears on your screen. We see you, hear you. We bless and love you. We thank Spirit for you. You belong, and so it is. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dale, and good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a great day to be together, isn't it? Yes? Yes, yes, yes. I am almost next week. I have an event out right after the service today, so I stayed dressed up. But next week, it's You Belong T-shirt season for the, for the rest of the summer, I guarantee you. I walked out this morning and said, Lord, geez. Anyway, we're talking about the body today, and we're all month long. The Body Divine is the theme of the Science Mind magazine this month, and so all month long, last week we talked about welcoming ourselves to the body temple, and today we're talking about loving this body. What does it mean to be anchored in loving this body? And this is a fundamental truth that I grew up in, this teaching. I had the privilege and the honor of growing up in New Thought communities, and so today's affirmation comes right from a standard place of my understanding and upbringing. And so today, as we explore how to love our body more, we'll understand how we can help heal the planet through that love. Amen? So the affirmation today is, you may recognize this, I love myself the way I am. I'll read it and then invite you to say it with me. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. How many people know what I'm talking about? I'll always be the perfect me, nothing to rearrange. Oh, and they're going to ask me to change it. That's okay, I can do it. Oh, no, you got it. Okay, that'll be on for later. All right, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. You know this, Penelope. I'll always be the perfect me, nothing to rearrange. Let's say it together. Take a breath. Hang on. Take that breath. Breath. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me, nothing to rearrange. And so it is. Let's have a great day together.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Let's do that again. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Isn't it beautiful to be reminded of that?
It is now time for affirmation. And the root word of affirmation is to affirm. I am affirming today that God is all there is. So I ask that you quiet yourself and get comfortable and you take this inner journey in that divine body that God has given us as we learn how to deal with life the way life shows up. I will speak in the first person, and you take what resonates with you. There is one power in the universe, the creator of all life. This life, this energy, this power is known by many names. It's known by Yahweh, Yahshua, Elohim, Buddha, divine intelligence, infinite source. I am so grateful today to know that I am a manifestation of God's idea, that God is so much part of me that I don't know where God ends and I began. I'm so grateful to know that God is in every cell and every molecule and every atom within my body, that I live and I breathe and I feel and I experience life only because God is present within me. For this God is so loving that it knows every inch of my body. It knows every raindrop that falls. It knows every snowflake that falls. It knows the fish that are in the ocean and in the sea. It knows the grass that grows from the ground. It gives us the oxygen to be able to live and to worship the love that we were created from. For today I understand that I was created from love, for love, to love. And that God has given me the assurance that there is nothing in this world that can affect my relationship with the love that God has for me. For it is untouchable, it is pure, it is precious. And as I continue to get closer through prayer and meditation, in relationship with this source, in relationship with this power, I know that the universe is here to support me at the level of my consciousness. And I also know that God can only do for me what he does through me. So I open up myself today in this body. For I know that ye who dwell in the sacred place of the Most High shall always be in the presence of the divine. And if God can be for me, who can be against me? So I'm assured today that only good happens to me today. I'm assured today that I am a winner today. I'm assured that I am a son, that I am a brother, that I'm a neighbor, that I'm a teacher, that I am a student, that I am spirit, that I am love, that I'm prosperity, that I'm happiness, that I'm joy. And that is my message. That is my reason for being here. So I share this love with you, and I share it right now, knowing that it can only come back the way it was sent out. For we know that God, there is nothing outside of God. There's nothing below or underneath. For we know that this God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipotent. So let's live in this power. Let's know this power. Let's do away with anything that keeps us from the truth of who we are. For we know it can look real cloudy on the outside, all but on the inside, there's nothing but love, truth, and guidance. I thank you. I thank Spirit for SLCA, the doors being open. I thank him for the board. I thank him for our wonderful teacher and the first family. I thank him for Ernest Holmes and all the new third members. Thank you for setting me free from me. It's a beautiful journey, and it's a journey worth taking. And know that we're never on this journey alone. I've been given the power to speak things into existence, to change conditions, to change effects. So there's much work I do, but I do the work out of love. And when I do it from love, I do it from my authenticity. And if you agree with me, let us say together, and so it is.
With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. Through me.
Very nice. Thank you, Penelope. Thank you, Dale Williams. Good morning. Good morning. Take a breath. Good to be together again today. I want to welcome everybody who's watching online, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And again, as we did last week, I wish everyone a happy Pride around the country and around the world, as June is Pride Month for most places. Atlanta gets to do it when it's a little bit cooler. Amen? We get to do it twice. We get to celebrate with everybody and then have our own party. I like it. So today we're talking about loving this body. Loving this body. Last week we talked about kind of just an orientation to the body temple, the body being not just our physical body, the skeletal system that you're walking around in, but body being the manifest universe, right? The body of God is the, Ernest Holmes describes the body of God as the infinite self-knowingness of spirit, right? So everything seen and unseen, everything that we can identify with our eyes is the body of God. And it's the outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of spirit. So a spirit knows itself, it expresses itself. And so when I say body, we mean not only our body temple, but also the body, the environment, the world, the three-dimensional reality that we're walking around in. Amen? We define the universe, spiritual universe, in kind of this trinity, if you will. We say spirit, mind, and body. Right? We looked at that last week. And that the body is the outpicturing of what we call the creative process, that spirit moves through mind or through consciousness and manifests itself in body. And therefore, the body is always, from the line from Ernest Holmes, body is always an effect, never a cause. Body is always an effect, never a cause. And so this understanding that body is the outpicturing of the consciousness behind it. Now, I'm really grateful for this series and that it's several weeks long because sometimes I look at a topic, beginning of the year, and I look out at the months and I'll see what the topics are. And I know the ones that are going to, call me deeper and challenge me. I got to read more, study more, do my own practice, intuition, and understanding of the topics. And then there are some where I'm like, well, that seems pretty easy. It's kind of, it's right over the plate. I'll not be too bad to deliver that message in that context. And there are some where, like this, where I looked at it and I said, well, I understand that. That should be pretty easy, loving the body and the whole theme of the month. And sometimes I think, well, how am I going to stretch that out? 4 weeks, right? Or 5 weeks, or God forbid it's a five-week month, right? I go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I kind of had that thought earlier in the year about June, but I'm so glad we have this time because as I've gotten into it, I'm like, you know what? There is a lot to unpack when we're talking about body. Right? There's a lot because there's a lot that has been manifest in the world and that we are continuing to have to carry and have to understand what to do with that. Trauma, the way in which bodies have been subjugated and oppressed and vilified and both by ourselves to our own self and through ourselves to other people. And so there's so much here. And therefore, it's a little challenging. Last week, when I began with just the idea that body is the outpicturing of the consciousness behind it, you see right there, we already begin to get into a little bit of trouble. Because it's very easy it's very tempted to get into a judgmental state of mind and begin to place blame or shame on the thinking that causes an outpicturing that we don't like. Right? It's very easy to go to a blame or shame place if the world is effect and the effect is always the outpicturing of the consciousness behind it, then it's a very, very easy jump in logic to say, well, therefore there must be something wrong with my thinking if I don't like the body, my body or your body or whatever we mean by body, right? And so we get into, and in the 80s, this was very prevalent in this movement, in this teaching, this idea of, we used to say this terrible phrase, and God, I hope we don't say it anymore. If you hear somebody say it, slap them. I mean, in a holy, nice way. In a holy, holy way. Come on. Right. Which is, what's wrong with your stinking thinking, right? Or how about this version? How did you create that? Right? Now, we know there's a creative process and that our thinking is a part of the creative process, and everything that is outwardly in effect is created by consciousness or thinking behind it, right? So it's not a bad question to ask ourselves, well, what part of my thinking was participating in that, or how do I feel about that, etc. But it really doesn't work when we foist it on other people, right? How did you create that, right? Just go ahead and slap them and then say, how did you create that? No. We don't support violence. We're talking about loving and healing the body here today. Metaphorically, just do it, okay? So there's a lot to unpack, right? Because the truth is that there's a lot of unhealthy thinking in our body. There's a lot of unhealthy thinking ingested in our body temples, but also in the body of politic that we live in the world that we live in consumerism and religion, in everyday life, right? It's quite eye-opening when we begin to really pull back the curtain and examine and see the ways in which religion, Western Christianity in particular, and I make that distinction very carefully, Western Christianity in particular, the way in which it appears and reappears in our contemporary thinking about the body. For example, associations between disabilities and punishment and sin from some biblical texts, sometimes in the way they're interpreted, continues to linger in ableism today, right? And our general aversion to disabled bodies that still is prominent in society's thinking. Another example is the very idea of what a good body is, right? What an able body is, reflecting a historical Christian association between this quest to master the flesh, right? In order to be spiritual, you have to master virtue through control or contortion of the body and its desires. And before I get too heavy on picking on Western Christianity, let me just say that New Thought's hands are not clean in this area either. Our over-positivity, affirmative style of calling it all good when in fact it's not, or sometimes what's behind that is a consciousness that presumes what normal and good is. And then we judge either ourselves or other people according to that narrative of what normal and good is. And then begin, again, as I said, to place blame on our consciousness or the consciousness of other people. Anybody know what I'm talking about today? But see, I'm not one to put my theology or my philosophy up on a shelf and admire it and fawn over it. I like to live and wrestle with my theology and my spiritual philosophy. I like to both be changed by it as well as to be a contributor in changing it, in its evolving nature as it lives through me. And so hopefully we'll do a little bit of that today and unpack some of that understanding and maybe where we've gotten off track and how we can get back on track. Amen? The great American philosopher William James, in his classic work, The Varieties of Human Religious Experience, called New Thought the religion of healthy-mindedness. This is in the late 1800s. The religion of healthy-mindedness. And it got that reputation through its roots in what we would call, I began to tell you a little bit last week about the Mind Cure movement. Phineas Parker Quimby. Remember I said look him up? He got them great lamb chops in those photographs. Short little guy, clockmaker from New England. And so this Mind Cure movement is where in American consciousness, there's this birthing of this idea of mind over matter. And this idea that there's a spiritual prototype of perfection, which is actually older than the 1800s and older than Quimby. You find it in Emanuel Swedenborg's work. as above, so below. And of course, you also find it in ancient traditions in native peoples and so on and so forth. So New Thought takes what has wisdom that has kept emerging time and time again. It doesn't really own that wisdom as much as it articulates it in a new era, right? But in any case, there is what cropped up in New England in the 1800s, this mind cure movement. And in 1860, when Quimby opened his office and he was seeing people as a what today we still use the word practitioner, right? Praying and meditating and sitting with people and contemplating the idea that behind whatever was appearing on the outside as a physical ailment, that there was a spiritual idea within that was perfect, whole, and complete. And the idea that one could be so convinced of that perfection, of that ideal, that the body had no choice but to change, right? To heal, to transform. And he sat with thousands and thousands of people and he demonstrated this over and over again. And this is some 60, 70 years before even the advent of penicillin. So people were seeking out, right, quote unquote, what today we call alternative medicine. They were seeking out these healers and these practitioners. And from Mary Baker Eddy to Charles and Myrtle Fillmore to hundreds of others who went to Quimby and then eventually to Mary Baker Eddy as she launched her movement and received physical demonstrations of healing. Our movement is anchored in this idea of healing through the body. Today, we still see the influence of Quimby in modern medicine and the understanding of the prevalent role of stress that is behind almost every condition that we have, right? Modern medicine will say stress is responsible for 90% at least of the conditions that we have, right? Western medicine also understands the necessary role of positive affirmations and positive thinking, the role that it has in the healing process, that if you're going into surgery or you're recovering to integrating positive self-talk has an incredible impact on the body and its ability to heal, right? And then nearly 100 years after Quimby, we have Louise Hay in the 1980s, a religious science practitioner and minister, right? Famed author of self-help and self-help movement guru. Her book in 1984, You Can Heal Your Body, the Little Blue Book. How many people had the Little Blue Book, right? It's a classic, right? I had it, my mom had it, and you know, the Little Blue Book, you had something going on, you flip and go, okay, let me find, what's that, backache, foot trouble, toothache, headache, whatever it was. And she'd tell you what? She'd tell you why it was there, and then, most importantly, she'd give you an affirmation. And then you say that affirmation over and over again, integrated as part of your spiritual practice, and heal it. And it was a wonderful thing to do, right? In 1986, her second book, You Can Heal Your Life, and to combine, those books have sold over 50 million copies worldwide, and she grew this empire, right? She also became an icon in the AIDS movement and hayride events where she was bringing people together who were suffering from HIV and AIDS and accepting them and loving them when their parents rejected them, their families and everything else that was going on, right? And it was wonderful to use this kind of resource. She was our most preeminent religious science practitioner. A lot of people don't know that. She was a licensed, trained religious science practitioner and minister. She just didn't want to use those labels out in public because she knew she could reach more people without it, right? Took us another 40 years before we changed our name to Center for Spiritual Living, right? Anyway, she told us that it was the feelings of lack and unworthiness and trust and support. And then she gave us an affirmation to work so that we could work into that healing. And it worked wonderfully well, except when it didn't. Because I don't know if you ever had this experience, but sometimes I would look it up and go, yeah, no, that's not it. Because one of the challenges that we have, this is one of the places where New Thought's hands can get a little dirty, is our assumption, our pejorative assumption that our predominantly white Western worldview is universal, right? Talk to me, somebody. We love in this teaching to talk about universal principles. because it's true for me. So therefore, it must be true for you. And I don't doubt that that's true most of the time, except when it's not, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes if somebody is suffering from a particular stress or anxiety or whatever the case may be, it would be, in my view, in my humble opinion, of which I'm quite fond, but my humble opinion nonetheless, that to blame that person or to say that it's that person's thinking that is behind the struggles or troubles that they're having, when it is in fact in, how can I phrase this, when it's in the complete ignorance or lack of awareness of the systemic ways in which society is contributing to that stress and anxiety, right? When it is the system, when the person is living in a food desert, when the person is, the point of oppression from the healthcare system or from housing or from whatever, and for us to simply say to those individuals, well, it must be something with your thinking, kind of falls on deaf ears and misses the mark just a little bit, right? Because the truth is that it's not very healthy to think sometimes about how we created something if all it does is produce toxic shame and guilt. You see, we need to remember something. We need to remember another basic truth, that yes, consciousness produces everything in form, but we need to remember, one, we don't think all of the thoughts that have ever been thought, nor are we solely responsible for them by ourselves. We participate in a co-creation, coexistence system. You got here today because other people were thinking thoughts, and they decided to follow the traffic rules, right? And they decided to bring gas to the gas station, and they decided to do the things that they did. You live in a co-creation that is constantly being created and recreated and created and recreated. And so it is metaphysical malpractice to take on, and it is, in fact, spiritual gaslighting to tell other people that they are individually responsible for something that is a systemic issue. It denies our oneness with all of creation and everyone. You following what I'm saying? Further, we need to, and it can be hard to unpack the ways in which we've co-created the reality that we're living in. And more importantly, we need to understand this fundamental principle. I got a little ahead of myself. Louise Hay, she said, you have the power to heal your life, and you need to know that. You have the power to heal your life, and you need to know that. You need to know that your thoughts do make a difference. You need to know that your consciousness is powerful. But it's not just you alone. It's a universal energy that you're using, and it's the co-creative power of everything around you as well, right? So there's no denying the power of what the movement that she created and the movement and the truth of our teaching that she built it on. But there's something else we need to remember, and that is that a thought is only as good as the atmosphere that it produces. A thought is only as good as the atmosphere that it produces. What does that mean? That means if you are trying to examine what's happening in your life or in your body, and you ask yourself, how did I create that? Or other self-reflective thoughts trying to get to the bottom. Tell me if this has ever happened for you, right? You have this self-inquiry, you have this look within, and you don't find really any good answers. All it does is produce some guilt or shame, right? Anybody? I know, you don't have to raise your hand, right? I know for me, it's happened on occasion, right? What good is that thought? None. Because a thought is only as good as the atmosphere it produces. If it is a toxic thought, then it is going to produce a toxic outcome. I do myself no good by continuing to have that thought. When I was 19 years old, I had on the right side of my body, my senior year in high school, my lung collapse. I had what was called a pneumothorax. And in case you haven't watched ER or one of the medical shows, ER, how old is that? Grey's Anatomy, okay? Because it's on all of them. Chicago Med, I don't care. You pick one, every single one. And I don't watch these shows very often, but every once in a while I catch one. And like 90% of the time, I'll finally sit down and I'll watch one just because there's nothing else on or whatever the case may be. And I'm watching it, and something ends up happening, and they're in the ambulance or in the ER or wherever they are, and they end up saying pneumothorax. It's a very popular phrase and condition in these medical shows, but it actually is a fairly rare occurrence. Pneumothorax is a fancy medical term for a collapsed lung. Sometimes happens when it's punctured by an impact in a car accident or something else. But in my case, I was one of the very lucky people, very rare population of tall, thin, young, white males. That in small numbers have this happen between the ages of 18 and about 20, 25 or so. And so it occurred, they went in, it occurred once, they fixed it, they said probably won't happen again, it happened again. They went in, they did a more invasive procedure to fix it, and they said it's definitely not going to happen again. It definitely did happen again, a third time on my right side. And they said, okay, clearly you're special. I said, I know. We got to do reconstructive lung surgery. So they do reconstructive lung surgery. Now by the time this happens, I'm 19 years old. I'm in practitioner class. And now I'm in the hospital. Doctor's telling me that I won't walk in graduation because I won't be able to, which is a thought I immediately rejected. I said, I'm walking. They said, well, not without help. And I did walk without help. In any case, I'm in practitioner training at the time. And where do you think my mind went? How did I create this? What did I do to deserve this? What is it that I'm not seeing? What is it that I'm not appreciating? And you know what? At the time, those thoughts produced nothing positive. Nothing. And so guess what? They weren't good thoughts to keep having. Because sometimes a toxic thought, all the time, a toxic thought produces a toxic atmosphere. And if it's a toxic atmosphere, then it's not worth continuing to think. It's much better to simply say, well, I don't know where this came from. I don't know what this is. But what I do know now is what I can think about it in the moment. What I do know now is how I can approach it. What I do know now is the appreciation and gratitude I can bring to this moment. You see, sometimes in our desire to claim everything as universal truths and to have very clear, we like predictability in new thought. We like to say there's an answer for everything. We like to find the little blue book and say there's got to be a page number where this is, and we like certainty. But sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed in your life, the world is uncertain, and there is mystery in the divine. And so sometimes we don't always know why something washes up on the shore of our experience. But we still have the tools and resources to say, this is how I'm going to approach it. This is how I'm going to handle it. In Christianity's earliest, I'll tell you more about the lungs in a minute. Christianity's earliest texts demonstrate this ambivalence towards our physicality. In the letters to Galatians, Paul admonishes Jesus' followers to, quote, live by the Spirit and not to gratify the desires of the flesh. According to Paul, what the flesh desires is opposed to the Spirit, and what the Spirit desires is opposed to the flesh. Now, we could pause right here and take about a 6-week class just on Paul. And it would be called, He Has Issues. Because Paul definitely had issues, okay? Paul had some issues with his body. Paul had some issues with women. Paul had some issues, okay? So we ought to take what Paul says with a little bit of salt or a whole lot of salt, because we got to understand the state of mind that Paul is in, and it wasn't always a happy or optimistic state of mind. But you see that where that thinking still shows up. This idea that somehow we have to get over and master and it's in every consumer product. We have to blast belly fat. We have to, master this. We have to eliminate that. We have to defy gravity in our makeup. We have to defy age. It's age defying. Put this on. It's age defying. Like, what is that? It's gravity defying. It's like, what? Like, there's this constant narrative, right, to master the flesh or to conquer it somehow and to preserve or to obtain some eternal youthfulness, right? Reveals itself in the Romans and the Olympics and this idea for the ideal physicality and to award that with our highest honors in this world, right? Much of its history, the church has severed its connection with the body, manifesting itself in the degradation of women, the abuse of children, and the justification for slavery and for violence, including the whitewashing of the image of Jesus, right? So disconnected from the body temple and the holiness of the diversity that is expressed in the infinite inclusivity of God that we couldn't even allow Jesus to be Jesus, right? We had to give him blue eyes and blonde hair. I was given a tour one time. We have a wonderful conference happening at Unity Village this summer in August called Celebrating Our Soul. People of African descent and Centers for Spiritual Living is sponsoring, and so I'll be there as part of that. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be the largest gathering of people of color from New Thought communities around the world, the United States at Unity Village. It's going to be amazing. And a couple of summers ago, I brought the Fellowship of Affirming Ministers there in their leadership conference. It was Bishop Flunder, and it was Otis Moss III, and William Barber, and just a number of profoundly prophetic people outside of the New Thought tradition, kind of all convening. And at that time, up until this summer, at that time it was the largest gathering of people of African descent on New Thought's campus, and they were new to New Thought and all of that and exploring, and I was giving them this tour, and it was quite funny because it was a Pentecostal conference and they put us in the Silent Unity Chapel. I'll let you think about that for a minute. And as tends to be the case, sometimes people get carried away in the music and the atmosphere, and people are getting their healing and their dance on and their run and everything else is happening. And when I've been at other places with this conference, sometimes people will run right out of the conference room. Right? They'll run right into the hotel hallway. Then, people follow them and they could lay out on the floor and they do their thing, right? But the problem was that right outside the room where we were was the lobby and then the entrance to the Silent Unity Prayer Chaplain Ministry, 24-hour prayer chapel. It was right above the lobby outside of the little sanctuary that we were in. And so every once in a while, somebody get their little Pentecostal dance on. They're running around, and they'd run right out. And Bishop Flunder would be like, "Somebody go get them. We can't have that. You got to bring them back in the room, right?" But anyway, I was there early, and I was giving them a tour to talk about New Thought history, et cetera. And we walked right to that place where the entrance to Silent Unity Chapel was here. The doorways to World Ministry of Prayer for Unity was there. There's elevators that go up, and then there's right there on the wall is a big, beautiful painting of Jesus, except he's blonde-haired and blue-eyed. And the group that I was with stopped me, and I'd said, "That's entrance to Silent Unity, 24-hour prayer ministry that occurs, et cetera, et cetera." And they stopped me, and as the group was walking away, walking into the sanctuary, just one person just grabbed me and said, "Who is that?" I said, "We're working on it. We're evolving their consciousness." Right? But we're so disconnected from the body, and we couldn't even allow Jesus to be Jesus. This unhealed relationship with the body manifests itself all the way into our healthcare system today, in inequities of care and access based on race and gender and public policy, consumerism that's stuck on the narrative that there's always something about our body that needs to be fixed or overcome or defied or transformed or covered up or concealed. But what if we had the power to change all of that? We do. And it begins right here with us, right now. It begins with our understanding that God is all that there is. As I used to say when I was a kid growing up in this teaching, God doesn't make junk. God is all there is. I am as I am, just as I am. is whole, perfect, and complete. That God chose to manifest in this form. And that act in and of itself automatically blesses and sanctifies all creation. And that God is infinite. And therefore, it's got an infinite way of describing itself, identifying itself, revealing itself. A variety and infinite ways of abilities and capacities that don't all look the same, that don't all act the same, and don't all perform the same. The body doesn't need to be denied or rejected. It needs to be embraced and accepted. Louise Hay made this pivot in the mid-1980s when her movement grew, and she made the pivot to healing through the release of shame and unworthiness for people who were coming to her for the Hay riots, for the HIV and AIDS movement. It wasn't about so much as healing or getting rid of HIV or AIDS. It was about healing the shame. It was about healing the unforgiveness from their parents, the rejection. It was doing all of that inner work and accepting what is and allowing that love to be the most transformative agent in the world. She became a hero through this work. And so it turns out that William James was right. A religion of healthy mindedness is what it's all about. It's not physical perfection or striving for an ideal norm or obsessing with what negative thought brought this about, but rather it's a healthy relationship with what is just as it is. Now today we still have a long way to go in the body positive movement, in the understanding that health and wholeness reveals itself in all kinds of shapes and sizes, that biodiversity is a natural state of the infinite expression of the divine. And this is important because in the end, how we regulate, this is Michelle Mary Luika. She's the author of a book called Shameful Bodies, and it's about the intersection of religion and body image movement. Powerful book. She says, in the end, how we relate to our bodies in all their fragility, interdependence, biodiversity, and unpredictability influences not only how we see and interact with others, but also how we relate to life itself. How we relate to our bodies influences not only how we see and interact with others, but also how we interact with life itself. It all comes from our self-understanding. We're the first relationship that we have. Your relationship with your body is your first relationship. Your relationship with your body is the longest relationship you will have. And it's one of the most important relationships that you'll have. And so, back to my lung story very quickly. 3 years later, it happened to me again, this time on my left side. I was speaking at a conference in Missouri, in outside of Potosi, Missouri. Anybody know where Potosi, Missouri is? It's in the Ozarks. It was a wonderful conference, and right in the middle of my talking. Anyway, long story there, but it was a long way to the emergency room. And this time what had happened physically is that basically my whole lung went. There was a series of blisters that kind of ripped open, and it was quite dramatic. And I was in this tiny little emergency room in the middle of nowhere, and this East Indian doctor who happened to be a heart and lung specialist knew exactly what to do, and he saved my life with the way he got in there right away. And then they sent me to St. Louis for surgery, ultimately for surgery, and they sent me still that night when it was storming and everything else. It was because the guy who was coming on call, the overnight doctor in the emergency room, didn't want to be responsible for me. He heard about my condition and he went, "No, he's too fragile. Send him now." You mean in the thunderstorm and the rain and the terrible weather? And yes, send him. Right? Now, long story short, my recovery, what happened to me physiologically, was far more traumatic to the body than what had previously happened, which happened in small incremental steps that finally led to surgery. This was a very traumatic, from a physiological perspective, in the body. My recovery time and my healing was a fraction of what it was 3 years before. A fraction. Now, why is that? Because I learned in that time to begin to identify with the I am self The I am that has a body, but is not the body. Uses a body, treats the body as sacred and holy, right? Doesn't deny the body, but understands the role that the body plays. That a healthy relationship with the body first begins in our mind. And if we have that, then everything else that follows is an outpicturing of that health, because healthy thoughts produce healthy outcomes. Toxic thoughts produce toxic outcomes. So to have a guilty thought about my body would only produce a toxic outcome. It wasn't going to help me at all. But to have a healthy thought about my body would produce a healthy outcome. And the healthy thought about my body was that I am whole, perfect, and complete right now. Right now. Even in this state, without this state changing. And that's the key. There's nothing I need to change. There's nothing to rearrange. I'll always be the perfect me. Right? Ernest Holmes says it this way. He says, healing is not creating a perfect idea or a perfect body. It's revealing an idea which is already perfect. It's revealing an idea which is already, the idea is already perfect. The idea is called you. It's already perfect. It's perfect right now. Say, yeah, but I want this thing to change. No, it's perfect right now. In other words, accepting our wholeness is not about changing form, it's about changing thought. Because the only thing that was broken to begin with was the idea, watch this, that something needed to change. When you heal that thought, then it doesn't matter what happens with the form. The form will follow the thought. So you don't change your thinking so that the body will change. You accept the body as it is, and then the body will follow where your consciousness goes. If that leads to a change or transformation, then that's what was meant to be. But if it doesn't, you're still whole, perfect, and complete. Because you already know that. You see the difference between shaming our body into trying to heal through our thoughts and making something wrong versus accepting what is and accepting the diversity that is expressed through ourselves. And so we become to this place where we see that loving this body is in fact a revolutionary act in a world that's constantly trying to get us to be something other than it is, right? To paraphrase Audre Lorde, right? Self-love is a revolutionary act. The world is, every commercial, everything, every magazine, well, not this magazine. Most things we see on the newsstand and in television and whatnot, right? Constantly trying to get us to change something and buy into this idea that something's not okay. And so self-love is saying, it is perfect as it is, the way it is, and I contribute. And yes, my body moves a little bit differently this way, or maybe I don't do this, or maybe I don't measure up to that. But that's part of the inclusivity of the biodiversity of spirit. Because there's an infinite variety of form. There's an infinite variety of expressions. Are you following what I'm saying? Yeah. This level of radical self-love transforms the planet. Why? Because healed people don't hurt people. And we got a lot of hurt that's happening in the world, right? Bodies that love themselves from the inside out don't need to subjugate the bodies of others. Bodies that love themselves from the inside out don't shoot up schools. Bodies that love themselves don't shoot up churches. Bodies that love themselves don't shoot up grocery stores. Bodies that love themselves don't shoot up movie theaters or malls. Am I talking to somebody? Bodies that are filled with self-love don't have time to regulate or legislate the bodies of others because they understand that those bodies, if loved properly, will regulate and legislate themselves just fine. So they don't have time for that conversation because they love themselves. And that's why today's affirmation is I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I grew up with this, and we had in my church, the little Valley of the Sun Church in Phoenix, Arizona, with Dr. Bob Henderson. I have his plaque from that church on my wall in the office that his widow gave to me when she passed. I have a big painting of him as well, but I have nowhere to put it. And I have his robe, his doctoral hood and his robe that was sent to me as well. They would print the song sheets, right, the lyrics, little 3/4 page of every Sunday. And I would keep songs like this and songs from Michael Byers and from the Alliance Group and David Alt And they would come as traveling minstrels. And I'd be sitting there 10, 12 years old just looking at them. David hates when I tell this story. I like to tell him, I say, I have all your tapes. I got nothing to play them on, but I got them all. Right? I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. Listen to the rest. I'm beautiful. I'm capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. Come on, you know it. I love you just the way you are. And there's nothing that you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, you raise your tears. I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is. I love this part because I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. So fill the world with peace on earth that only love can bring, and I'll help it grow by loving everything. And this is probably my favorite part here. I love myself the way I am, but still I want to grow. The change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful, I'm capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. And so it is.
Reverend Dr. David. Don't sit down. You got some work to do. I love myself so much that I can love you. That I can love you so much that you can love you. That you can love you so much that you can start loving me. You can start loving me. I love myself. I love myself so much that I can love you. I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can start loving me. Come put some energy in that. I love myself so much that I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can start loving me. Amen, amen, yes, yes, yes. I love that.
Okay, it is time to acknowledge our first-time visitors. If this is your first time at SLCA, we invite you to stand so that we can welcome you. Our ushers are handing you a special gift. And please join a welcome ambassador for fellowship in the lobby after service. Thank you for choosing Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta as part of your celebration today. As we enter our time for grateful giving, we want to thank each of you that faithfully give to SLCA. It is because of your contributions that we can continue to spread our message of oneness. If you were inspired by this message today, please consider becoming a recurring pledger or give what is on your heart today. You can conveniently text your gift to 404-800-9467. You may also give with a credit card on the website by using the digital program with the QR code displayed on the screen. If you wish to give by cash or check, our ushers will be coming through the aisle shortly to receive your contribution. As you hold your pledge card or gift to your heart, please join with me in saying our grateful giving affirmation. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Thank you so much.
Connect, grow, serve, and give. Living life where you belong. Connect, grow, serve, and give. Loving everyone. You belong. Yes, you do.
Hi, everyone. It's me. I'm Mally Lapete, and I gladly serve on the creative arts team. My pronouns are her and she. I'm excited to tell you about opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give in our center. For more information about today's announcements, take a moment to scan the QR code found either on the back of the seat in front of you or the one displayed on the monitor. Remember to check our weekly email newsletter that comes out on Mondays now for all the ways to connect with SLCA during the week. If you aren't currently receiving the newsletter and you'd like to, you can see me or one of the other service people here. What are you doing this Saturday at 10 a.m.? You are not in bed. Connect with the nature and connect with nature, yes, and join Catherine and Doug Donnells and host Tai Chi with Baji at Kathy and Doug's home in Douglasville. That's at 10 a.m. this coming Saturday. Please see either Baji or Catherine for more details. SLCA will have a booth this year at the Atlanta Pride Festival in October, and there will be many opportunities for each of us to connect and serve with our community. Hoo-ah. Join us next Sunday after the service for our bake sale fundraiser. Yummy. All proceeds will go towards our booth at the festival this year. Did you know that meditation can give you a sense of calm and peace and balance that can benefit both your emotional well-being and your overall health? Grow with Reverend Ursula Lentini every Tuesday right here at 7 p.m. and on Zoom. Are you ready for our Pet and People food drive from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. today? It's today from 2 to 4. It's never too late to donate. We will join our friends from UUCA here at SLCA for our Pet and People food drive. Diaper donations are also welcome. We'd like to give thanks to our loyal pledgers, each and every one of you that faithfully give to SLCA. To find ways to connect, grow, serve, and give, visit our digital program or our information wall in the lobby after service. Will all practitioners please stand or make yourself known in the online chat at this time to be recognized? Hi, y'all. We welcome each of you in need of prayer to remain in the room and reach out to a practitioner that you just saw, online or in person, one-on-one. In-person practitioners will be available on both sides of the sanctuary following the service. Thank you for joining us this morning. We look forward to seeing you this week. That's it.
Thank you, Valerie. And thanks, everyone, for being with us this morning. And I invite you to consider our bake sale next week. I know it's going to be fabulous. Please speak to me or someone else about how you can serve during that bake sale. I know I'm going to bring something really yummy. I'm not sure exactly what it is going to be, but it's going to be yummy. And I want to invite you to join us for hospitality. We have a wonderful buffet. We want you to join with us. So don't go away anywhere. Stand, let's sing our closing song. Thanks for being with us online. We love you so much. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that expressions of God, we see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. Go ahead, get your food on. We got some great coffee back there.